Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the plenary session of the Second International Conference on the Management Research, ICMRS 25, hosted by Sahrdaya Institute of Management Studies. Now, to officially welcome our dignitaries, keynote speakers, and all the participants to this vibrant gathering of minds, I invite Ms. Gopika to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, all. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you to the Second International Conference on Management Research ICMRS 25, organized by Sahrdaya Institute of Management Studies, Kodakara. This is indeed a proud moment for all of us as we gather virtually yet vibrantly to celebrate knowledge, share insight, and promote research in the dynamic domain of management. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend a special welcome to our distinguished guest, Dr. Aswathy Ajitha, Assistant Professor at IIM Amritsar. Ma'am, we are truly honored to have you with us today. Your presence and insight will undoubtedly enlighten and inspire every participant in this section. I welcome you, ma'am. We are also privileged to be guided by the vision and leadership of our Executive Director, Reverend Father Gino Joni Malakaran, and our Director, Dr. Danya Alex. Thank you for being the pillars behind this intellectual endeavor. We welcome you both. Next, I would like to welcome Father Binoy Thomas, our dedicated ICMRS coordinator, whose commitment has been instrumental in making this conference success. Next, to our respected faculty members, passionate research scholars, enthusiastic students, and participants from various institutions, thank you for your valuable presence and continued support. Your participation truly adds meaning and energy to this conference. I welcome you all. Let this plenary section be a space where thoughts, coverage, ideas take shape, and the future of management research finds a new direction. Once again, I welcome you all to the ICMRS 25. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopika, for the warm welcome. To know more about the incredible achievements and the contributions of our esteemed guest speaker, I'd like to invite Ms. Priyanka to take us through the guest profile.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Aswathy is an assistant professor of marketing at IIM Amritsar. She holds a joint PhD from IIT Madras and Curtin University, with research focused on customer participation and its impact on customer outcomes. Her academic background also includes an MBA, MSc in bioinformatics, and BTech in biotechnology. With nearly 5 years of teaching and research experience, Dr. Aswathy specializes in marketing, consumer behavior, and service marketing. She is skilled in research methodology and statistical analysis, having conducted multiple workshops in these areas. She has published in top journals such as the Journal of Services Marketing, Electronic Commerce Research, and IIMB Management Review. An active contributor to the academic community, she has presented at major conferences like AMA and serves a reviewer for leading journals and conferences. She is known for her interdisciplinary expertise, global academic exposure, and commitment to impactful marketing research. Combining academic depth, practical insight, and a global outlook, Dr. Aswathy Ajitha is a respected and influential voice in contemporary marketing scholarship. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Priyanka. I'll just share my screen once.
Thank you, Priyanka. Now it's time for the highlight of today's plenary session, the keynote address. We are deeply honored to have with us Dr. Aswathy Ajitha, Assistant Professor at IIM Amritsar. Ma'am, we are truly looking forward to hearing your insight on leadership analytics and the evolving landscape of management research on the topic of how to publish in high-impact journals. With great respect and anticipation, I welcome you to the address gathering. Welcome you, ma'am.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. So let's get into business. So today I've been called for having a discussion on how to publish in impactful journals. So I'll walk you through some of the slides which I've made, but then majorly it will depend on what questions do you have on these specific topics. Okay. So can I ask like why? Okay. Why we publish? Anyone? Why should we publish? Why is publishing important? You're all here because publishing is important. So why? Anyone has an answer? Or we'll keep in monologue? No? Why do we publish? Why is publishing important? Okay. So we'll go on with why publishing is important in an impactful journal. So why do we actually publish? So we publish because we need academic credibility. So basically, I would say that we do a lot of research. So when we do a lot of research, we should convey that research to a wider audience in academia and also practitioners who can actually use this research to come up with meaningful outputs, like they can actually use it in businesses since we are doing business research. So it is majorly for academic credibility and visibility, contributing to the discipline. So if I'm working on services marketing, then whatever I am doing will always be incremental contribution to that particular discipline that I'm doing. And then career advancement. So obviously I should be well published so that if I'm from academia, I should be well published so that I can contribute better in classrooms. I can contribute to the upcoming researchers. I can actually help the entire research like as a whole to actually grow, right? And broader societal or industry impact. So whatever research we are doing, so these days, industrial impact or the managerial contributions are a major thing. So you cannot just make theoretical advancement without showing where it can be applied to. So application is also very important. So it is actually contributing to society or industry. So it can be like a single research can be impactful for the society and industry together, or it can be for societal impact alone or business impact alone, and so on and so forth. So these are the reasons why we publish in impactful journals. And now moving forward, how are we understanding the impact? Like how good is that particular research is. So right now we know, we would have heard about certain ranking systems and we say that a particular journal is a better journal than a particular set of journals. So how do we actually say that? So the major criteria over here is impact factor. So impact factor is something which actually depends on citation. So citation is like I have a research of mine and you might use the findings of my research in your study so that it helps you in doing your work better. So that's when you cite me. So that's called a citation. So impact factor is totally dependent on the citations. So it is dependent on how how many citations over an year or a particular period in the with the total number of journal publications which is present in that particular journal. So every journal comes with an impact factor which tells that how many people are citing a particular journal publication from that journal. But is impact factor alone matter? So there are certain journals where people might not be aware, but impactful research is there. So is it just only impact factor? So there are so many other rankings, which we'll see in the upcoming slides, that are important when we are looking at good journals. So other indicators are about H index of an author. So I'll have, once I start publishing my work, so I will have an H index attached to me. So it helps to understand that how much have I researched, how many of my papers are being cited well. So it tells you that. Then you check for journal of reputation in a particular field. So for example, if when I started working in my thesis, I worked on services marketing. So now I am doing some other work as well. So when I'm working on services marketing, so I should have an idea what all are the journals of repute which is present there. So it starts with Journal of Service Research, which is considered the topmost journal. Then comes Journal of Services Marketing, Journal of Services Management, and it goes on. So I'll have an entire list of them, and I'll also try to understand like what is the aim and scope of that particular journals which are on the top tier. And then there is site score, which is by the Elsevier. Then you have SJR ranking. So then you have Almatrix, which is totally about the social media reach and attention, how much we have received that through a social media. And then what about the practitioners and policy relevance, which a journal is making? So is the journal majorly focusing on academic contributions, the theoretical contributions, or are they more into public policies, or are they more into practitioner perspective, or are they more into societal well-being? So all this is searched well, and that is where you figure out or you try to understand what is that particular journal, how is that particular journal impacting. Based on what impact you want from your research, you choose your journal accordingly. So a caveat here is impact is not equal to quality. Quality in all fields, it varies, it depends on the context, and there are certain journals. So for example, if you are a researcher who's working on entrepreneurship, there are journals which is in a top tier and all that. But if you're doing on entrepreneurship in a specific domain, and let's suppose that the setting is actually India, and you're trying to understand that. So you might be understanding from the perspective of marketing, or from the perspective of like financial implications and impact, or from the perspective of processes, or from the perspective of export businesses. So all this, when you consider that, there are not many journals which is actually going into entrepreneurship. So now you will sit and figure out, based on the aim, which one is a better quality one, which is going to give me an opportunity to extend my work in the same area and have further more publications. So having said that, so how do you actually target a journal? So you target a journal by reading the aim and scope. So basically what we do is we try to figure out what all are the top tier journals. And then what you try to do is like you go forward and you start understanding what is the aim, what is the scope, what are the recent articles which is getting published, because that actually gives you the trend. So the trend is actually important. So they might have published about something a decade ago, but right now, they are publishing on anything in collaboration with AI and also a particular method. They might not be going for, let's say, they are not welcoming only qualitative research. They might want a mixed method. So they might want to actually go ahead and understand the more about deeper into conclusive researches. So now what is happening is you're trying to see what is the trend in that particular journal. So do you only consider the recent issue? No. You go back and take a couple of issues and you figure out how the trend is actually changing. And so now you know the aim, you know the scope, and now you know the trend and what is the method that they are using, what is the theme, how are they structuring it, what is it is expected out of it. So you will understand, you will draw parallels with the aim and the scope which they have written. And then you will know whether your paper, what you have created, is it a fitting one for that particular journal? Note the type of papers which is out there. So let's assume that you are having a theoretical paper. And this particular journal is majorly focusing on empirical papers. And there are a couple of theoretical papers, and you see that they're not exactly the way that you have written the paper. So now you decide whether it is the right place to pitch or not. So based on all these things, you align your paper and you see whether it's actually contributing to the way that the journal is progressing, and then you choose the journal. So this is when you actually are doing a research and you're trying to kind of fit in a journal. So let's assume that I started doing that. There are instances where there's call for paper. So in that, a specific journal is calling for certain topics with certain methods in it. So in those situations, what happens is like you really know that this is a journal that you want to get into. So we'll talk more about rejections later. But still, if you have submitted that paper and which is not accepted, they've rejected the paper for some reason, you have to find another journal. Then you go through this entire process. You figure out what are the other possible journals who's publishing similar kind of topic and similar kind of method and the similar kind of contributions that they require. When I say similar kind of contributions, the way that you're contributing to. So whether it is majorly on theoretical contribution or methodological contribution, or let's say like practitioner contribution. For example, if you take, let's keep it neutral. Let's take Journal of Business Research. So what all are the different kinds of research papers which come onto that? So they take all of them. They take anything related to business, but there has to be a practitioner's implication very strongly. They also take methodological contributions very seriously. They take conceptual contributions. They do take literature review paper. So they do take all of these things. So now how do we go about it? So it's not majorly dependent on the theme or the topic because they do take from different disciplines. So now what you look is what exactly are they standing for? They're standing for pure business contributions, which is out there, and a very strong underlying theories or studies which is being conducted, which will help you to pitch to that particular journal. So what are the ingredients specifically to make a paper publishable? So to make a paper publishable, first of all, it is novelty. What new? So what is it that is underexplored that you are exploring? So it's not like you're trying to build a whole new thing. So it can be to that level where you are giving a boundary condition for an existing theory, or you're altering a boundary condition for an existing theory. So a theory has been established, let's say reactance theory. So reactance theory actually talks about the reactance of a person. So anybody, if you push a decision onto a person, there will be a reactance, they would want to go against it. So that's as simple as reactance theory. And reactance theory, so it's kind of like in schools, the management says that the students should not be doing something. So the reactance will be like, whatever should not be done will become very attractive for the students to do it. So that's what reactance theory talk about. But does it apply in every situation, every scenario? Everywhere does it apply? So you're just stating that this theory is not applicable in certain situations. It is applicable in certain situations. Or you just simply say that this theory is refuted in this particular domain, and I have proved it that it is refuted. So that itself is setting a boundary condition, stating that the entire universal set is not showing the applicability of your theory. So that in itself is a contribution. So that's about the novelty. So nobody so far has stated this. But when we talk about novelty, whether contextual novelty is there. So most of the time, a study which is conducted, let's say in Australia, you're just putting it in India, is not actually a novelty. But let's assume that entrepreneurs are studied only in West. Now, we have not studied entrepreneurs in Bangladesh or India or anywhere in the East, to be particular. And we have a whole together different ecosystem in which entrepreneurship works. So there, the contextual difference will become a contribution. It is a novelty. So novelty is first one, theoretical contribution. What is the advancement that you're making? So which I've stated. So the theory is having a boundary condition. So you're refining it, you're critiquing it. So all this can be a contribution. Methodological rigor is something which is required. So you have clarity, robustness, and replicability of whatever you have done. So another person should be able to replicate whatever you have done. And practical relevance. So what? You have come up with a whole new theory. So what? Does anybody have an implication? So it is always, it's actually like we have to have a real world or a business implication, which makes it stronger. But is it mandatory to have it? If you have a very strong theoretical contribution, that itself is great. But these days, you try to see that theoretical contribution, is it in any way applicable in any of the business context? And clear writing. It's structuring. So we have a slide on that. How do you structure the paper? The grammar, the flow of the paper. It should be like, it should always be from a viewpoint. So it's like, if I am reading your paper, I should be able to understand how the structure flows. And is it easy for me to understand and connect with you? That's very important. So choosing the right journal. So we have talked a little bit about impact. And we did talk about how do we select the paper, journals. So high impact versus realistic fit. So where you already know that there is a great fit in one journal, but there is another journal who has a higher impact, which may take my paper also. So it's a trade-off. It's up to you to decide whether whether the contribution has to go to a realistic fit or whether I should aim for a high impact journal first. So it's up to you. Considering review time, acceptance rate, indexing. So what we normally do is we go back and see how much review time, what's the review cycle. So there are certain journals which takes a lot of time for review. So the first review comes to you after 8 to 12 months. Then do you have other set of research papers or pipeline to actually sacrifice that much of a time window? And what is the acceptance rate? If it is really tight, do you really want? So it all depends on like, do you really want to go ahead with it? So is it something where the review time is lesser or acceptance rate? I'm not saying it has to all be lesser. So I'm having another paper under review, which will come out soon. And this is one which I feel is really good and must go to a particular journal where the review time is high and the rejection rates are high. And the entire paper publication window is larger. But if I feel that I am contributing, I will submit it. So again, that's a trade-off which you're taking. And use tools like Elsevier Journal Finder, which helps you find the journals which is related. Then there are Springer Journal suggesters are there. Scopus is there. So ABDC is a ranking. It's an Australian ranking which is there. CABS is British. So that's another ranking which is there. FT50 is another ranking which is there. So I would say it's tighter as we go to the right. So ABDC ranking is a little more, if you really look at it from a publication perspective, it's a little more like easy to get an A, which is not that easy to get at the CABS, which is a level 3. So an A3, there are not many journals. Then FT50 is just 58 journals in Financial Times, which is seen as the best journals when we think about business journals. And there are very few from every domain which is present there. And you see, like whether you want to. So the time which is required for the entire review process will be larger when it comes to an FT50 journal compared to the others. And what we have to be careful is avoid predatory journals. When I say predatory journals, the journals which doesn't have a standing or the journals which is known for not doing a good peer review, not doing a double-blind review, who's asking a lot of processing fee, who is actually gaming the entire system. So you have to really know that. So how you avoid those predatory journals. So how do you write this? So you write this, you start with a solid outline. I always say that before sitting to write it, it's always better that you have your results in your hand. Because it's in research, it's always like that. You define your problem and your results should converge to whatever the discussion is, which is solving the problem which you have stated in the beginning. So that entire flow has to come in so that you will know, like, how do I outline it? And then I have the standard set, like where I need an introduction, I need a literature review, I need a method. So there are certain journals where you write a literature review and then you write a conceptual background. There are certain research papers where both are combined. So all this is based on your contribution that you're going to make. So if theoretical contribution is the theory, underlying theory is stronger and literature review supporting those theory is being used, you will combine both of them together for a better impact. So you start thinking like this is how it has to flow. So it starts with why does this study matter? So your introduction is all about, so it's a hook. So it's basically you're trying to hook the person into reading this particular research. Your reviewer has to be hooked to whatever you're stating. So you're just telling, you're narrating, you're enthusing, actually. So you're motivating your problem. So you always start with the contextual setting and why this particular study is important and why and how you actually flow through that and what are the problems which you see currently which require solution and what aspect of those bigger problems that you are trying to solve and what exactly is your objective of the study. So that's where you kind of stop that entire thing. And then you have this literature review or conceptual background development, hypothesis development. So all this is the second segment where you decide how do you use already existing theory and literature to build on to what you're going to do. And method will tell you what is the method that you're using, how tight it is, and it has to be transparent and justified. So you have to really state why. So this is a problem that can be solved using these techniques or methods, and that's exactly why I'm using a particular research design, and hence I go forward. And then result being clear, focused. So you do analysis of like your entire data that you're getting, and you present your results, and you discuss on that results with what can be the theoretical contributions and practical implications. So I would always suggest that even though it states this, I would say that there should be a discussion. Like once your results are presented, before your theoretical and practical implications, there should always be a discussion because that piece is yours. So until now, if you see, everything else have literature support to it. So your data, the results from it, and how you actually interpret those results based on whatever you have written so far is your discussion. Have a very good discussion to enhance those aha moments you've gotten from your results, so that it makes it more impactful and the contributions comes out of it, where you write those two contributions and then you conclude by stating. So before we used to write limitations and we say all these things like we could have done, if you've done a cross-sectional study, longitudinal would have been better, this would have been better, this we did not do. So you don't have to force with that standardized limitations. So these days, sometimes we don't really write the limitation if you really cannot write anything new. So then what you say is like you go forward and state that. So you don't say that I've done a cross-sectional, I need a longitudinal, or I need a mixed study. So you don't say all those things, but you put it as a future research. You'll say that, yes, I have done this for generalizability, but internal consistency is more important. So studies might be required for that. So you're not actually writing it as a limitation, but there's a huge lot of scope for the future studies to happen. So that's another way that you write it, you pitch it. So you're not saying what you've done is limitation. You initiated. So you've come up with a qualitative study. So you initiated that qualitative study. So you say that I have broken it down for you. I have come up with themes. I also might have come up with conceptual models, or I've come up with some conceptual frameworks, which includes like probably some 30 different constructs. Now it's up to you to actually take it forward. So you're not saying that this is a limitation. This is not a limitation. You have done enough work to actually make life easier for others to take it from there and advance that particular research. So in that case also, you don't write the limitation. You put it as future research, and then you write that this is all what has been studied in this one. And in future, you can study all these things. So that's also another way of doing it. So common reasons for rejections. Why paper get rejected? So paper get rejected because of fit. That's just rejection. Most of the time that it doesn't align. When they say fit, it is not about the aim and the scope alone. It's also about what they have been publishing recently. And it can also be like they don't go with a single study. They need more substantiation. So I don't need generalization from one sample. In my journal, I need generalization from at least 3 different samples. So that might be another reason for this fit issue. So weak or missing contribution. So you've done all these things, but you've written your contribution also. Is that a real contribution? Are you really contributing, or is it just reinventing wheel in a different package? So that's another problem, poor writing or structure. So the person has to understand who is reading. So it's not kind of like you're paid for getting all these reviews. So you actually review it free of cost because you also learn. So it's not very easy that like with an appropriate structure or writing is not really great. When I say writing, it's about like keeping it simple. It's very easy to kind of go through from one sentence to another. I'm not saying that you have to use sophisticated words or like long sentences. No, it has to flow. That's what is important. Lack of theoretical grounding. You might have collected data, you might have gone with a model, but why? What's the theoretical grounding for it? So without which you cannot make a theoretical contribution. So from where have you started? So that's another problem. Inadequate literature review. You might not have gone into the relevant or recent literature or relevant and recent literature, which could have solved most of the things which you are finding a trouble with. Methodological flaws. You might not have tightened the entire method. So you have some flaws over there. You might not have done certain specific tests, or your it's all together knitted loosely. So ignoring reviewer comments in the revision. So basically there are 2 things which happens here. So first of all, with a reviewer comment, a rejection happens. With ignoring all that, you submit it to another journal, which comes back again. Let's assume I'm the reviewer, I have rejected your paper. There are other reviewers also who would have rejected, but then I have given you certain comments and reasons for why I'm rejecting. So same paper through another journal will reach me. There is a possibility of that. So it will reach me, and it has happened also. So it will reach me and you have not done any changes. So that's one thing. Second thing is like, you have been asked to review and resubmit. I mean, it's kind of like revise and resubmit. So if you are not answering, revising everything, when I say revising everything, I'm not meaning that you're answering all the questions. I mean, what I mean is you're answering all the questions, you're not making all the changes. You needn't make all the changes. You can justify to the reviewer why you want to or you don't want to go ahead with it very politely. So these are certain reasons. So the peer review process. So basically, desk rejection versus review. So desk rejection, I mean, it is better to get a paper reviewed and rejected than desk rejection, because you might have somebody else's comments also in it. In desk rejection, you don't get all of that because they think it is not a fit. When it is not a fit as a whole, then they don't send it to a reviewer and waste their time also. So that's what happens there. Reviewer types. So there are people who give constructive reviews, which will help you. So whether you are submitting it there or taking and submitting it somewhere else, your paper gets better by incorporating them. There are harsh reviews where like they don't have the time to waste, and this is not really great, this method is stupid, the way that you're conducted is stupid. This can also happen. But if it is a revise and resubmit, you will have to answer to those questions, which is very important. So how do you handle them? So how to handle those reviews? So first of all, don't take it personally. They don't know you. They're just writing it based on what you have submitted. Respond point by point. So every question. So it can so be like answers to one person might be an answer to the second person, but you have to respond it separately. And for every point, you have to respond. It's not like when somebody says that you have to include something more. So you might have a rationale on why you don't want to include. Then respectfully, you will state why that is not what you are intending to do. And be respectful and very clear. Be very respectful, even if it is a harsh comment or whatever comment it is. You're spending time on reviewing your paper. So you will be respectful, and there's a way that you write back to them and revise and resubmit etiquette. So it's kind of like, how do you do it? So you make it easy. So there is a pattern. If you have gone through an entire process, you will know how do you write to when you're resubmitting, what all other things that is required. So whatever corrections are there that you might highlight and you will take. So when the changes are done, there will be a reviewer note where you will bring that changes in the manuscript into that content. So reviewer response sheet will also have those things. So there is a particular way it is done for different journals. They will let you know, but you have to really take care of that and use a window appropriately. If you want an extension, don't keep it till last minute for an extension because you cannot work on it overnight. So if you're requesting for an extension, at least make sure that you get back to them a week or more ago so that they know that you're working on something and you need some more time. It's not like you forgot about it and now you really realized and now you need more time. That might also be acceptable, but it is always better to take care of it beforehand itself. Ethical consideration, plagiarism used to be a bigger problem. So right now, AI use, unethical practices are there. There are ways where ethical practices are also there because there are journals will ask you, what have you done? Where have you used AI? So report correctly. Report what you have done because it's something where like you are not supposed to use an AI to write a paper, right? So you should, that's unethical practice. Authorship disputes. So you have to have a clear idea. So for example, there are three of us who started the a research. So let's assume I'm the first author. So now when we are doing, initially the idea was mine, I started contributing, I started doing. After a point, once the method was created and the data has to be collected, for some reason, I just abscond because I have so much of other work to do. And the co-author, there is one major author who was with in the beginning. So there are three authors. So from the beginning, that author is there. The person takes it up and completes with the help of the other one throughout. Who's the first author here? The second person. Because the idea may be yours. You left the project in between, right? So it's basically you have to have a clarity on these authorships beforehand itself, and it has to be that there should be any dispute that has to be kind of clear. Like you should really know who comes first and why. So for example, like if I am actually working with, let's say I'm working with a PhD scholar. So who will be, so the thing is like when the PhD scholar came under me, just for consolidating data and everything, the PhD scholar helped me. Then I will put the PhD scholar as a second author, right? But it is the scholar's work. And then, so these are etiquettes, I would say, because when it is their work, again, my contribution will be higher in the way that I am mentoring throughout, but I am only mentoring, right? So it's normal that a research scholar's work, the person, whatever the amount of work, because the amount of work should ideally be of that of the research scholar, right? So that's the author thing. So you have to have that clarity in the mind when you start with the work itself. Data fabrication should not be there. Manipulations should not be there. You have to consider it properly. Duplicate submissions. I cannot submit it to two places at the same time. That's not right. Right? Acknowledging funding conflicts, everything else. And like tools to help you. So some of the tools I've just put it over here for reference, you can build on it. So reference managers like Zotero, Mendeley, EndNote and all are there. And writing is like Grammarly. Hemingway is really good. So Grammarly checks grammar, whereas Hemingway is actually for the way that you have written. And ethical use of ChatGPT. Certain journals allows it. So that is also okay. But Hemingway is a very good way to kind of use for proofreading and last edits and all that. Literature, Google Scholar Alerts, Research Gates, Scopus, so all those are the ones. Submissions also at Publons, journal databases, and so on. So tips for early career researchers, I mean, most of you who are present here, co-author with seniors or mentors on topics which interest you. Start conference paper and convert. Start conference paper, go present. Present at 2 places or 3 places, you will have an entire idea of how to go ahead with it. So I would say first one, present when your idea is ready as a conceptual one. So it can be a paper as a whole, presentation or a poster presentation, but present it. Talk to people so that in conference also talk to people about your work. So you get more and more ideas. So conference is majorly it is for networking for the first point, but then otherwise it's about you talking about your topic, you getting their insights. See, they are just listening half of it and they're saying something, but that can help you think better. Don't chase impact at the cost of learning. So there are 2 ways when we do research. We see that there are certain supervisors who tell you that you have to aim the high and publish at that level, which is not wrong. You're pushing the person to that place. There are certain supervisors which will help tell you that let's go with a middle level journal. Let's see how you can let you know how this entire process is. That's also not wrong. So it's up to you. For certain people, jumping all this step up is something which is a motivational level. For certain people, going one step at a time. So I publish in C, then I publish in B, then I publish in A, then I have the courage to publish in A star. Some people are like that, right? So accordingly, it works. Be a reviewer to understand the process. So usually your supervisors might give you 1 or 2 of their reviews to really see like how the review process is happening. But you be a real-time reviewer. There are journals. So you don't have to go and ask an A category journal to give you the review. Maybe they might give, but I'm not really sure about it. But go to a journal which is a B or a C and tell them that you will review. Your expertise is this and you will review. Write to the editor. They will actually put you in the process. They might add you as a 3rd reviewer, which is good for you because then it is a review when every 3, let's assume 3 reviewers are there. All the reviewers will give the reviews, which is to the author. And when it comes back, you will be able to see every reviewer's review and the answer to it, which helps you learn. I have learned a lot from that. So I submit, and then I used to feel happy when there are certain reviews which I have written. The first and the second reviewer would have also written, and I feel like, oh God, I'm on the same path. I am understanding this, and I learn. I'll go back to the paper and see why that particular reviewer has asked particular question in the previous one, which might be there in my hand. So that I'll go and check, like why. So these are another way of learning how you write an impactful paper to get published in an impactful journal. So keep a submission strategy, pipeline of papers. So it has to be like rolling. So for example, if I have to tell mine, so from 2017, I've started publishing. So again, I have started with, so first I've written to some college journals when I was before my PhD, and then I went into C, then to B, then to A. So that's how it was going. And now what is happening is there will always be. So one will be submitted and in the second review stage, one will be about to submit, another one will be in the data collection place, another one will be conceptualizing. So there'll be one in each. It's kind of like managing your BCG if you know what BCG metrics is. So it's again a portfolio in your hand, and every time you have to be there. So for example, right now, there is a window where for the last 1 year, I have been into conceptualizing studies. So I've submitted one. So there's a gap of research publication which is coming where like I have submitted another 2 papers. So one is in the second round of review, another is in the first round of review, and there are 2 papers which is at conceptual level, one is into the writing. But there is a gap of 1 year window over there because I had other duties, so I couldn't actually pitch it. So actually this pipeline helps there. So if you really look, so it's kind of like 2024, I have the last publication, and 25, I'll have one. But there is a window where gap is there. So this is for all of you who are about to get out of PhD and who has like started their career, I would say, that this pipeline has to be there. I'm not saying that you have to keep on publishing, but you should have it in your mind that when one paper reaches the final manuscript, there should be another idea which should have already been conceived. You don't wait till that paper to be written and submitted to start thinking about it. You would already have papers and conferences, right? So my paper journey, so if I have to really quickly, I'll just quickly state that. So if I have to really get into that, it's about like, I would talk about my first A category publication, which is come in. So this is my thesis conceptual paper. So when this has come in, the reviewer, the first review was like, whatever reviewer one is stating, the reviewer two is opposite to that. So now I cannot give satisfying answer to both of them. So it became difficult. So how do you write? So that is when my supervisor has told me, you don't have to accept all the reviews. I mean, you can politely, respectfully tell, like, this is not what I'm intending to do. So we had to kind of convince the second reviewer for all these things. In the second round of review, it had gone to a third reviewer also. So there were 3 reviews at that point. And then it started converging. And in the third round, I think it actually clicked. So we could get it. So it became a very minor revision and then it went in. So you selecting the journal and you're publishing. So I have selected journal. So this was on Journal of Services Marketing. And now I'm sequentially submitting to that journal because it's an incremental contribution to whatever I have submitted in the first go. So basically publication is not a marathon. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you keep on going. You don't just finish off and then, okay, it's done. No, don't fear rejection. It is okay. You will get the first experience. I knew that it will not go into a great journal, but the co-author kept on submitting in great journals. So it's like you're getting rejected left, right, and center. It would have been rejected at 20 places, and then we had to revise some things. At every place, we used to incorporate whatever they have stated after the 5 rejection. And then it started getting better, and then it got submitted. So it's majorly like when you submit the paper and when finally accepted paper comes, you will understand how much the paper has improved. So don't fear the rejection. It's part of the process. See why it got rejected. And most of the time you will know. So if you ask me, you come with a paper to me, I'll know that this will not go to a particular journal or this will go to a particular journal. And then it is the reviewer's problem, maybe it gets accepted or not accepted. Focus on genuine contribution and clarity in explaining those contributions. Network with scholars and attend conferences. Conference attending is also for generating more idea. You don't copy anybody's idea, but it will help you understand, oh, this is where the world is with research. That's what it helps you with. Stay curious and persistent. Keep asking questions. That's very important. So that's it from my side. If there is any questions, I can take it. Thank you. Okay. What are the most effective ways for early career researchers to build a meaningful academic network that support high impact publishing? So I'll tell you one thing. First of all, if you go, so as research scholars, you can go and talk to big people and say that I want your insights and suggestions and all that. But for early career researchers, I would say that you have to meet similar kind of people first. So you start building from there. So you meet similar kind of people, probably a little senior to you or at a similar level, and then you collaborate with them. You show collaboration first. So it takes time. So it's kind of like I will collaborate with somebody who is a colleague of mine, right? Or somebody who is at a same level in another institute whom I have met while I was in a particular conference. So we will discuss it, we hit it off, we come back, we make sure that, so one of us will make sure that they will continue conversating and you create something, you start with that. So now what happens is you don't know the mentors of that particular person. Right? So at a particular point, it can so be like your mentor or their mentor can actually come in. So then you have a better hand in hand. So that way it works because in my experience, what I felt is like you go and talk to a big guy and they would want you to do the work. That's it. They wouldn't actually help you grow at that point, and they might not be really interested because they already have a lot of contributors, So I would say it's always with equal levels you start. And then their seniors, you end up. So first one, let's assume first one, I'm publishing it with one of the person who I have met, who is at a similar, like an assistant professor at a particular place. And the second one, when this paper went off well, the second one, probably my senior or the person senior is interested. So I collaborate with another person. So it will be 3. So that's how you get it, according to me. And going to the same conferences. So if you're going to the same conferences, so you continue going to, for example, if I'm going for every AMA conference, then I'll meet similar kind of people there. So there you can meet higher people and you will use those conferences. So basically that's also another thing. So you're going international conference and you're meeting your collaborators there and working there. So every time you go there, that's when you meet them. So that can also be another way of doing it. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, I guess we are done then, if there are no more questions.
Ma'am, if there is no question, we will proceed with the other. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening words. It truly added immense value to the session. To formally end up today's session, I request Reverend Dr. Jinojoni Malakaran for the concluding words.
Hi, Aswathy. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
As I asked to my faculty colleagues, give me the chance to say thanks to Aswathy.
Yeah, it's good.
Very happy to see you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, great. So this is the second edition of our international conference, and Tony sir is the one of the coordinators of our ICMRS 25, and since 3 of us are here, then since we all connect, since we know each other, we thought, okay, we definitely need a resource person from IIM. Then the first name suggested by Tony sir is Dr. Aswathy. So thanks for accepting our invitation and throwing light on to how to publish or why should we publish and how to proceed or continue an active research life. Being faculty members and here in in self-financing college, Aswathy, you know it already that along with teaching, we do have many administrative roles and other things. Yeah. However, no, we all are passionate about doing research. One good thing we generally do is like we collaborate with other faculty members from other institutions, so that there is a pull and push effort. Somehow we remind the other person, and force or keep put the deadlines, and somehow we manage to get in. So that's how we progress. Your insights and your experiences, the real elements of struggles, the thoughts and views, all really helped all of us. So on behalf of Sahrdaya Institute of Management Studies, and very especially on behalf of our international conference and Professor Tony Matthew, we thank you, Dr. Aswathy, for your time and your valuable insights. Have a great year ahead in ICMRS. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. See you.
See you. See you.
Thank you, Father. To express our heartfelt gratitude and bring this session to a close, now I invite Ms. Nandana Nair to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. As we come to the close of the enlightening plenary section of Second International Conference on Management Research, ICMRS 2025, to a close, it's my honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on the behalf of Sahrdaya Institute of Management Studies, Kodakara. First and foremost, I express our deepest gratitude to our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Aswathy Ajitha, Assistant Professor of IIM Amritsar. Ma'am, your thought-provoking insights and perspective have truly add immense to the session and sparked the fresh ideas in the minds of all the participants. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and setting a high benchmark for your intellectual discourse. I would also extend the heartfelt thanks to our Executive Director, Reverend Father Jinojoni Malakaran, and our Director, Dr. Danya Alex, for the unwavering support, vision, and encouragement that continue to guide every academic mission at Sahrdaya. A sincere word of appreciation goes to our Father Binoy Thomas, our ICMRS coordinator, for his tireless efforts and meticulous plannings that helped to shape this session into resounding success. Last but not least, to all the faculty members, research scholars, students, and participants from across institutions, thank you for your active participation and keen interest. Your presence has truly made this session more dynamic and meaningful. And also special thanks to the technical and organizing team working behind the screens and to ensure the smooth execution of this online event. Your efforts are truly commendable. Thank you. Let us carry forward the ideas and inspiration from today into the ongoing academic and research journeys. Once again, thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you, Nandana. And once again, I thank all our distinguished speakers, dedicated organizers, and our engaged participants for making this plenary session both enriching and inspiring. Let us carry this momentum forward into the upcoming sessions. Wishing you all a productive and insightful conference experience. Having a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.